So Benavidez vs Zurdo is taking place on the 2nd of May for Zurdo's cruiserweight titles. This fight looks to be very intriguing as it's two high volume fighters with styles that should make for an entertaining night. I'm going to analyse both the strengths and weaknesses of each fighter going in and why this should be very competitive. First I'll look at Benavidez and what tools he has and what I think he needs to do to get the win. Benavidez enters as a pressure fighter, trying to get close to the opponent and throw in high volume combinations until they get completely broken down. On the other hand, Zurdo has become a pure boxer since his move to cruiserweight. He opts to shut down his opponent's offense with movement and defense. Pressure fighters typically have an advantage over pure boxers, as they are forced to move or clinch to avoid the exchanges, which often leads to them tiring themselves out, fighting at a pace that they're not used to. Benavidez in this fight should be looking to keep constant pressure on Zurdo, to force him into exchanges or to force him to use excessive movement. Benavidez also has a big hand speed advantage. He's able to throw 5 to 6 punch combinations at close range. While the power isn't elite, the sheer speed and volume with the pressure will break down even the best defensive fighter if they get trapped on the ropes. And if he is able to get Zurdo to hold his feet on the ropes, Benavidez should look to unload with unpredictable combinations, mixing in right hands and left hooks to go through and around Zurdo's southpaw guard. In order to land on Zurdo, Benavidez has to effectively cut the ring off and keep him on the ropes. Benavidez has already shown the ability to step laterally with a moving opponent, instead of just following them in a straight line. Benavidez also will widen his stance, almost squaring his hips to the opponent. This covers more ground and makes his entry unpredictable. Similarly, he occasionally crosswalks while throwing punches. This has the effect of an unpredictable entry too. Zurdo, like most pure boxers, prefers when their opponents are predictable with their movement and pressure, as this allows them to read and easily defend their attacks. If Benavidez is at his best, he'll most certainly catch Zurdo unprepared at times. One underrated aspect of Benavidez' style is its high guard and counters. He will often catch punches on the guard and will immediately counter back, which puts doubt in his opponents as there's no safe opening to attack. Against Zurdo, he will have to counter any effort Zurdo makes to gain ground and push Benavidez back. Not only will this catch Zurdo with hard punches, but he'll also discourage him from letting his hands go, which is to Benavidez' benefit. So far at cruiserweight, Zurdo has looked good against fighters who are big and slow with leaky defense, like Arsene Goulamirian and Chris Smith. Benavidez is levels above these when it comes to being a pressure fighter. He has a very educated defense, and as he's coming up in weight, he'll be a lot faster than those guys. Also, Zurdo's cardio versus Dorticos look quite average, which isn't really a sign of a boxer who could withstand the kind of pressure that Benavidez brings. Zurdo's power at cruiserweight has also not looked spectacular, preferring to score points and sharpshoot rather than sit down on the shots and land hard counters. If Benavidez can acclimate effectively to the new weight, then Zurdo's apparent lack of power will make it incredibly difficult to stop the pressure. Finally for this segment, Benavidez has fought a few southpaws before and he looked in good form when facing them. Most notably he fought David Morrell and Demetrius Andrade. This fight won't be anything new for Benavidez stylistically, as he's seen crafty back foot southpaws before and he's performed quite well. Coming into this fight as the unified WBA and WBO cruiserweight champion, Zurdo Ramirez will enter the ring as the more experienced man at this weight. With both starting their careers and winning belts at 168, and now campaigning at 200 pounds, Zurdo will be the first fighter Benavidez has faced who is the same size, if not bigger, than him. Potentially he'll have a strength advantage as well, as he is now used to fighting and sparring taller and naturally heavier boxers than Benavidez. This should help Zurdo stifle Benavidez' pressure if they get into a clinch, and could also help Zurdo push Benavidez back, sometimes literally. Since becoming a pure boxer, Zurdo has developed great movement skills. He's able to effectively step in and out of range to land sharp left hands, as well as pivot to different angles in the open stance matchup to give himself either lead hand or backhand superiority. His head movement has also improved steadily. However, against Benavidez he won't want to rely on head movement for defense if in range due to the fast hands. To win, Zurdo will have to stay out of Benavidez' range for long periods of time, using feints to disguise his punches and immediately moving after throwing, being careful to not allow himself to remain on the ropes and clinching if in danger. In order to keep Benavidez from just marching forward and beating Zurdo up, he must look to catch Benavidez with unpredictable punch sequences. He's already shown the ability to do this, as he often leads with the left hand versus orthodox opponents, to catch them coming in when they don't expect it and move in afterwards. Zurdo needs to keep Benavidez guessing about what punch is coming and when, in order to lower Benavidez' volume and slow down his pressure. Another area Zurdo can exploit is Benavidez' footwork. I spoke briefly about how he would sometimes square his stance and even crosswalk to disguise punches. These can be dangerous for Benavidez though, if Zurdo is able to time when Benavidez does this, or if he gets an advantageous angle. We've seen Benavidez get knocked down or off balance due to footwork issues before, like against David Morrell or Ronald Guvril several years ago at 168. Finally, since moving to cruiserweight, Zurdo has fought 3 pressure fighters, Joe Smith Jr., Arsene Goulamirian and Chris Billam-Smith, and he looked incredibly dominant against all 3 of them. While technically they're not close to Benavidez, they do serve as good practice for Zurdo to get used to dealing with aggressive fighters, so during the fight versus Benavidez he'll be quite confident, especially because he's had that experience. Now to start, I do believe this fight will go the distance. Neither guy is shown to be a huge puncher in their last few fights, and unless the jump to cruiserweight has somehow enhanced Benavidez' power, I find it unlikely there will be a knockout. This fight will probably be very competitive for at least the first 8 to 9 rounds, until one fighter is able to establish their game plan onto the other. Zurdo's size poses quite an interesting question for Benavidez, because we haven't seen him versus someone who could potentially be bigger than him in the ring. It's also possible Zurdo decides to really force his strength onto Benavidez and take the fight to him, which might happen for the first few rounds, but I think Benavidez' quick counters and his volume punching should keep Zurdo from bullying him. Ultimately, I think Zurdo will look to fight Benavidez off where possible, but I think he'll come off second best and he'll rely mostly on that long-range sharpshooting to land his left hand. I think after round 6 the intensity of the pressure will start to get to Zurdo. Benavidez should slowly start to take over. So I'm picking Benavidez by unanimous decision, 116-112.